Hi everyone! So fall or autumn, depending on which one you want to call it. I feel like I flip back and forth between the two depending on my mood. But autumn is coming up shortly, and this is when I start to bust out a lot of my more deeper reds and orange kind of makeup. And there's a whole bunch of products I noticed in my collection that I don't even start reaching for until it's September. So I kind of wanted to talk about those products because they make me very excited for the colder months. Most of the products in this video are permanent products, but there are some limited edition / discontinued items in the mix. We're at a stage in the makeup world where a lot of us have a ton of discontinued makeup that we still use all the time, and I like talking about it because I still think they're wonderful products. So maybe you have these in your collection and you can dig them out too. However, I'm going to start this off by talking about two palettes that are thankfully still permanent. The first one I think is like an autumn favorite across the board. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. I love this palette desperately, but I only reach for it between September and November. And it really is just down to the color scheme, I think. I mean, we've seen this 100 times over, but this is very fall, autumnal, leaves that are changing color. And this is the kind of color scheme that as soon as September hits, I am there. This is what I want to be wearing on my eyes all the time. I do really love my bright colors, but there's something about the months of September and October where I'm just like, I want to wear neutrals. And this is the kind of neutrals that make me really happy. I do like the sort of burnt oranges and the deeper champagnes and all that, but for me, a true neutral look, I know this might sound a little bit silly, has a lot of red in it for me. So this is really my idea of neutral, and really this is the perfect palette for that. I love the fact that this palette has two deeper reds as well as one really deep pink that basically looks red on my eyes in my opinion. I love this deeper matte orange over here, and in fact most of the shades in this palette are matte, which is really enticing. I mean, you do get two shimmers over here, Vermeer and Primavera, and it's nice to go back and forth between those two depending on if you want like a cool pink kind of lid or a warmer, more golden lid. But I just love playing with every color in here in general. It doesn't matter if it's a shimmer or a matte, although I do feel like I gravitate towards more of a matte look when I'm wearing this one. I do have it on my eyes today. I'm wearing pretty much all mattes here except for the inner corner of my eye, which is like a ColourPop single. But this is just gorgeous. And the color combinations in here never come out looking weird. They're always something unique or interesting, and I can't rave about this thing enough, and I'm just happy that it's September now, and now is when I'm gonna be reaching for this palette. Honestly, over the years, I really don't think that ABH has ever managed to top the Modern Renaissance palette in terms of eyeshadows. For me, that was just like the pinnacle. Not only how good the eyeshadows are, but also the color scheme was just perfect. But there is another palette that I do reach for a lot throughout the autumn months, and that is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. This is not a palette that gets a ton of love from me throughout the year, and it's really just because it is a very basic neutral palette. It's very lovely to use, don't get me wrong, but there's something horrifically subdued about this palette, I want to say. And I know that sounds weird and it sounds like an insult, but it's not quite, because I do utilize this a lot during the fall months. But there's something very dusty and subdued about this palette that makes me not think of it throughout the other months of the year. It's only really in the autumn months that I start reaching for this thing. And I've mentioned this before, but I got it when it was the really thick packaging one. It's like double the size of all the other chocolate bar palettes, and I actually find that really cumbersome, and it has prevented me from wanting to reach for it a little bit over the years. It's a weird packaging thing that I just have with it, but the shadows inside are really good. But back to this horrifically subdued comment. It's just muted. It's very muted for a palette. I mean, you've got a lovely gold shade here, which I don't even know the name because it's not printed on the inside or the back. It might be Creme Brulee. That's a really lovely color, as is the shade above it. But the rest of them are they're like mulched up leaves that have fallen to the ground. It's just a really subdued palette. This is the kind of color scheme where you can just slap on a few of the colors and call it a day and not really have to be worried about too much blending or too much color matching, because most of this kind of all sort of blends together in a beautiful array of shades, but they don't have a lot of definition between the colors really, unless you're going with the gold and then like the more, I think this is Cherry Cordial over here, like those are two very contrasting colors. But if you gravitate towards any of the like browns, they all kind of like meld together. So it's a very easy to put together eye look that sort of just matches the fall season. Moving on to a bronzer that has unfortunately not been around for a very long time. And this is the Revlon Photoready Bronzed and Chic bronzer. This was one of the best bronzers that Revlon has ever put out. I'm pretty sure it came out as a part of a summer collection at some point, but I only picked it up in October of one year because it was at some, I don't know, warehouse sale or whatever. And I love this thing so much. There's a kind of a 4-block color wheel here, so you can gravitate towards more of the paler shades or the deeper shades depending on where you fall in the color spectrum. And I think that's really handy because I can utilize this in the summertime if I'm a little bit deeper, as well as in the cooler months if I'm a little bit paler. And for whatever reason, because I bought this in October and I used it so much then, this has become a quintessential fall product for me. So I feel like I only ever really grab for it in the transition time between August through to like winter. And I don't know why they don't carry this thing anymore, because I really can't think of any actual Revlon bronzers that they have on the market right now. And this was heavily hyped when it first came out. Like YouTube was all over this bronzer probably 7 years ago. It's just a powder though. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. I love it so much. It's a matte bronzer. It applies nicely and it's basically my fall bronzer. Next I'm going to talk about a perfume, and this is the Vanilla Grapefruit Perfume by La Vanilla. This is my second bottle of this, so I have clearly loved this, but this is my September perfume. I bust it out every single September because there was one year, probably 5 or 6 years ago, that I went on vacation to Prague with my friend Kat, and I brought this perfume with me, and for whatever reason, this perfume combined with that trip just like ingrained itself in my head. So whenever I smell this, I am brought immediately back to Prague. I'm picturing like cobblestone streets, cool crisp air, drinking a beer in a beer garden, having schnitzel. Like, it's just such a perfect memory whenever I spray this perfume on. And it is quite the scent. It is so sickly sweet. It's strong, it's like syrupy. There's a ton of vanilla in there, but there is a bite of that grapefruit tinge to it. Honestly, the first time I wore this, I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. Like, it is really sickly sweet. But then I just became obsessed with it. I was like spraying it excessively. Like, I'd wear it to work in the morning and then come home and spray myself all over again. I just smell like an absolute sickly vanilla grapefruit bomb, and I'm not sure other people appreciate it. I have since toned down how I wear this, but I love this scent, and it, for the last, I guess 5 years, has been my September scent. Now, this bottle's getting kind of old. The liquid is not usually this amber colored, so I do need to finish this bottle up soon, so I'll probably just, like, I've started already wearing it now because it's September, but I'll probably just wear it through until I finish it up. It's lovely, but it's really thick. Okay, next up are 3 blushes. They all sort of fit in the same kind of color family, which is like a deeper burnt orange / red. Do you remember this? This is the NYX blush in Mocha. They don't make them like this anymore, which is a real shame because I love this packaging with the like waffle weave pattern on it. I don't know, I found it really appealing. But this was another product that so many people talked about on YouTube, and I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, it looks boring. And then I picked it up and tried it on. I was like, okay, fine. I guess there was some merit to all the hype. This is just, I never know what to call it because it looks somewhat peach, but it's also a deeper peach. I see a little bit more orange in it, but there's also like a muted tone to it. It's not mocha. I would never call this mocha, to be honest. I think of mocha as more of like a brown shade, but this is beautiful on the cheeks. It's luminescent. It matches with any kind of orange eyeshadow look that I tend to wear in the autumn months. And I really wish they hadn't discontinued this format of blushes because they were so nice. I don't even know if their regular line of blushes now has the same colors at all, but I still have the old packaging and I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. And another one that's quite similar to that is one by MAC. So this is a little bit more expensive. I say that, but you can't buy that other blush anymore. So this is Gingerly, another blush that just looks boring as hell. Like, there is nothing remotely interesting about this pan to me. But like most shades that look absolutely boring in the pan, this is beautiful to use on the cheeks. It is a little bit less orange, I feel like, than Mocha over here. So I do tend to pair this with a little bit more of a neutral eyeshadow look. Honestly, it's just one of those colors that you can grab when you don't really know what to put on your cheeks, and it just kind of lights them up a little bit, gives you a little bit more life. And Gingerly has been around at MAC forever. Like, as long as I have been aware of MAC blushes, I've been aware of MAC Gingerly. All right, the last blush I'm gonna mention is one by Clinique, and this is part of their Chic Pop range. This is the shade ColourPop. And this was pretty popular, I would say, about 2, maybe 3 years ago. People were absolutely raving about these Chic Pop blushes, but they've kind of disappeared from people's videos. I'm pretty sure they're still on the market. This shade looks terrifying to a lot of people. I understand it's very dark. It has quite a red tinge to it, and you would expect that it would come out on your cheeks looking like this. It doesn't. It just comes off as a soft red flush, provided you use a light hand. I mean, don't just like go hardcore in the pan with your brush and like slap it on your cheeks. You have to use a light hand, but you get the most perfect flush with this color. So you know how people are always talking about, like, if you just came in from the cold, you look really beautiful because you've got like a little bit of hint of color on your cheeks. Well, tell you what, when I come in from the cold, I'm splotchy. I've got red splotches all over my face. It's not a good look. But this blush color will give me that just came in from the cold look, but in an appropriate and pretty manner. So I really like it for that effect. I apply it lightly, and it's a beautiful color. I pair it with a lot of red eyeshadow looks, but it does also work really well with neutral colors as well, or if you're gonna wear a red lipstick, this is beautiful. All right, so those were all the products that I wanted to talk about that I bust out for the autumn season. You'll notice there weren't really lipsticks in there, and I tried to think of some that I reach for every season, and honestly, I'm not that consistent with lipsticks. I just feel like eyeshadow palettes and blushes are the things that I reach for the most throughout the fall months, and then I just kind of interchange what I'm wearing on my lips all the time. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you found this interesting. Let me know about some products that you reach for during the cooler months, and I will see you next time. Bye!